Slowly worn down by a better football team. That is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're used to saying that about the New England Patriots, Tom Brady's old team, but it was exactly the opposite. A game in which you picked correctly.
I did.
The 49ers would go to Foxborough and beat Cam Newton and the Patriots. You didn't pick it quite this lopsided.
No.
33-6. This was domination. Cam Newton threw 3 interceptions in the game, so that's where I want to start right off. I want you to rank the 3 interceptions and which one was really bad, which one was not quite as bad, and which one maybe didn't bother you as much there.
Okay.
All 3 of them, there's the one long one doesn't seem that egregious right at the end of the half.
It didn't kill them. It was 23-3. 49ers didn't end up going to score on the drive or anything like that. In fact, Jimmy Garoppolo ended up throwing an interception himself to J.C. Jackson, I believe. But yes, I would say, so just to list them, that's, the least worst of the 3, right? I have no real problem with that. By far.
By the way, on that play, he did throw it 57 yards in the air.
Well, I mean, 57 yards, yes. I'll say this about that play. I mean, his arm strength is real. He's got some mechanical issues the last 2 weeks. He's got the whole, hey, I'm throwing to 12 o'clock. I'm on the middle of the clock. I'm throwing to 12, but I'm stepping at 9.
Ooh.
Or, and I'll get into another one in a minute, where he's wrong on that play, just to hit on it, there's the old phrase, if he's even, he's leaving, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jacoby Myers, that phrase does not apply. All right, so that would be where I would just go, dude, this guy doesn't outrun people with the ball. That's not his game. And he was not in front of Mosley at that point when he let the ball go. So
and he tripped.
And he tripped, exactly right. So there was no chance. But that was the third
not as
least
bad.
egregious.
Yeah,
right.
not egregious.
I think the first one's the worst one. The first one, the game being at that point, I believe it's 10-3, right? And, first off, I think the thing that bothers me is nobody's open. And Cam's got to work on this because this is 2 games in a row. It's too much. Nobody's open. Get off the spot. Move. Stop standing there and just being, I'm the damn Terminator and I'll sit here all day long and you come hit me. Somebody will get open and I'll throw it. No, they're not going to get open. Your receivers aren't good. So it's going to be on you to have to manipulate it that way. So that was the first thing I didn't like of the play, let alone the decision to make the throw was not good. I mean, the ball got tipped by a guy that jumped up, but it was going to be an interception regardless. I mean, who ended up getting it? Warner? I mean, Warner.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Warner was there, right? Warner.
So wait, are you talking about the one that went off Edelman's hands?
No. Even the first one, I couldn't tell if the guy jumped.
Yeah.
I thought maybe somebody touched it. Maybe he didn't.
I just think he just threw it into the ground.
He might have. He's been throwing some balls, what I would call like a screwball. It comes out of the side of his hand and nosedives.
That's what it looked like.
And right. So it was a horrible decision and then a really bad throw where it was like, I understand sometimes you're going to throw an interception. The game is not perfect. Interceptions you can live with as far as he threw in the spot. He was hoping his guy could get it. He did throw it, but, man, the defense made a great play or whatever. This was not one of them.
He threw it in the spot that only Fred Warner could get it.
Pretty much.
And he made a good play.
So that was 10-3. That made it 16-3 a few plays later. And now they're stuck into a game, which is not good for them.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's get into that last interception, right?
The one off of the hands of Edelman.
Right. Off the
where Edelman was open, and he just kind of threw a fastball high.
And
Edelman
behind.
tipped it, and it was behind, and Jamar Taylor got it.
Exactly. And then you explained it exactly right. The play was for Edelman all along. It's called a jerk route because we're going to make the one linebacker in the middle of the field look like a jerk because Edelman has a 3-way go. He can stop and come back, or he can stop and go forward. And in a lot of cases, sometimes you could stop and go up the field vertically, too. So there's a lot of things you could do there. He is open. Cam's eyes stay way too long to the left. He's got a little seam and a hitch out to his left, which he has the freedom to throw if he likes it. He looks at the seam a little too long, but then he comes back to Edelman, and he's got some people at his feet. His feet are totally cockeyed. He's throwing a ball to 2 o'clock, and he's stepping at 9 o'clock. So that leads, again, when you're like that, it's going to lead to inaccuracies, but I think the big thing is the thing you said. He throws the ball too hot. It was too hard, first off. I mean, even if he puts it in his face, there's no way he's going to catch it. It's going to hit his face and bounce in the air.
It sticks right there in the face.
I mean, he just threw it way too hard, let alone behind the receiver and all of that, and that tips the ball up in the air. Interception for Jamar Taylor, and night-night.
So that was the middle. The worst one was the Fred Warner one, but that
was number 2.
That was not great.
And then the post route would be number 3.
So this is a question from Angelo Papano.
Yeah, right.
And you talked about it already. I'd love to hear you pick apart Cam's awful throwing footwork. Has it always been this bad?
No, he's always had little issues with it. where it's like, oh, here's Cam's throwing it great for 5 weeks, and all of a sudden one game it gets bad, and maybe 2, and then someone says something or he realizes and he fixes it, and then it goes back to good again. But he gets in a horrible, and I'm going to just do this here standing up, but again, if I'm throwing the ball here, all right, he does this too much to throw it there, right? It's just not going to work consistently good. Yeah, he'll make some throws like that, sure. But to do it consistently, no. And it does at times, listen, he goes, let me say, it's 5 and out. It's good drive for a field goal. It's interception on the first play that we just talked about to Fred Warner. And then it was a 3 and out. And it was 23-3. It was a game over. So there was 4 drives. The game was over. Now, we'll talk about the defense in a minute. But even on the 3 and out that I talk about here, that then leads to the game being going to 23-3. He throws a 3rd down, short throw to his left side, and it's the same thing. Throws one of those low balls you just talked about. Yeah. He gets his front shoulder way jacked up high in the air. And now when you don't step there, where else can you go from right here except to go that way a little bit? And, of course, that's going to lead to the ball going down. So if you're up here, yeah, okay, you want to be up here maybe if you want to throw a bomb, but not when you're throwing a 10-yard route. And he needs to clean up some of those things. He wasn't doing this earlier in the year, and that's why he was on point. And he made some throws in this game where you go, damn, that's a good throw. Come on, man, let's do that all the time. But the game got out of hand, and they got forced into a game that they can't play because they can't win a shootout against good quality football teams, or at least another good quality defense.
It's starting to almost look like the Patriots need the game to go well in like 3 facets for them to have a good offensive game. They need to get the running game going.
Right.
And they need Cam to be on point because it's not like the receivers, and we've mentioned before, are going to be able to do a lot of it.
No, they're not. And especially with Edelman not being like totally 100% either. Yeah.
And the running game can start with Cam, too.
It can.
That can be Cam.
No, it can be. And that's, again, I think the silver lining a little is when they wanted to run the ball, it showed they were going to be capable. But the game it got lost, and they couldn't hang with it at all. They wanted to play a game that was going to be 20-17, 23-20. And then, okay, we can stay balanced and we can stay with the run and Cam's design runs and things like that. And then we'll hit you with some cool play action passes and some other things where guys are going all different ways because of our run game. They still can do that at a high level. But yes, when the game got like this, it was a real issue. And, all you can really say is that's the way. I think you said it. That game, they have to play a certain style of football.
Yeah.
They can't play shootout football against the better teams in the game. They're not going to win those.
And you have all along given credit to the 49ers defense. And I think there's this thought that you lose Nick Bosa for the year. That's a huge blow.
Right.
You've lost DeForest Buckner, who's playing very well for the Colts right now. Those are 2 big pieces. You might not have enough to be that dominant 49ers defense that you had last year.
Right.
Maybe not as dominant on the defensive line. From what you saw in this game, can they still be that dominant team defensively?
Yeah, they can. There's no doubt about it. They're still a really good football team with a lot of good talent. Now one thing, the matchup played in their favor, too, to where they could play a little man in this game because they weren't worried about anybody, right? So that was good for them. But regardless, when you talk about their defensive line still, Armstead, Kinlaw, Jones, Hyder, even Street and Givens behind them and those guys, it's a pretty good front. I know it's not superstars, and people are never going to look at it and go, oh, it's not, but I'm just telling you.
Kerry Hyder, by the way, is always making
Yes, he is.
Plays.
And DJ Jones in the middle is one of these guys that I'm telling you, he's going to become a free agent in a few years, and the 49ers are going to be able to keep him because somebody's going to pay him a lot of money. So they have a lot of guys that, they're not superstar names, but me as nerdy football guys sitting here trying to tell you, damn, they're good players, though. I'd like them on my team. I'd certainly. So between that, and then the biggest thing for them, Ahmed, is a little bit like the last thing we just talked about in the Bucs. Those 2 middle linebackers fly around everywhere. I mean, Fred Warner, you heard Tony Romo on the telecast at all? He called him the best middle linebacker in football.
Do you agree?
I don't think that's he's in that conversation. He is one of those 3-4 guys where I'd go, he's really special in the space. He can cover Julian Edelman man-to-man. I mean, he has a few plays where he locks down Julian Edelman. So, yes, what I'm saying, especially if their safeties are healthy and we can have a Mosley healthy, and if you can have Sherman back in the lineup, I would say, yes, this defense, I think right now is still a top 5. It's number 5 defense in football, and I think it can stay there all year long. I do.
Elite on defense, Offensively, they looked elite in this one. That run game was elite again. San Francisco with 4 rushing touchdowns. The Patriots had allowed 1 in their first 5 games, so that was something that the Patriots hadn't been leaky in, at least up to this point. Here's a guesstimate. You ready for a guesstimate?
Right.
The 49ers have played 23 games their past 2 seasons. How many rushing touchdowns have they had in that span?
Oh, gosh.
23 games in the last 2 seasons.
Okay, 23 games in the last 2 seasons. I mean, they're easily good for 2 touchdowns a game. So 46 touchdowns is going to be too low. I'm going to go, oh, well, maybe not now with that reaction. I'm going to go, shut up, stop messing with me. I'm going to go 65.
65? 35, according to Pete.
Oh, shit, I'm way out of here. I'm giving them way too much credit.
But that's how much you love Kyle right there.
I'm thinking the game's going like, all right, this game.
If they just got 4 in this game.
That's what I mean. I'm thinking like there's got to be some games. But, yeah, that was a stupid guess. Holy cow.
That was high.
Yes.
But the
Maybe
next highest was Arizona and the Rams at 30 each.
Okay.
So they are the highest.
Man, Arizona, that's one I wouldn't have called. But that's the Kyler Murray effect and his ability to run in from
had a good year last year.
Yeah, and Kyler can scramble in from the 5 like no other.
So they were able to run the ball, and specifically that Jeff Wilson 16-yard touchdown run. Pete wanted you to kind of take a closer look at that, and if that was indicative of how the 49ers were able to run the ball on the Patriots.
It totally was. Now, the ball wasn't on that specific play intended to go where it was. Right? The play was made for a cutback. You know, last week we talked about the Derrick Henry zone, tight end behind the line of scrimmage, and then we cut it back, right? You know, so they're running inside zone to the right. The tight end on the right is going to come behind the line of scrimmage and kick out the backside, weak side defensive end to where now, hey, guys, we're running zone to the right. Oh, wait, let me plant my right foot in the ground, and I cut back, and we have this huge hole. Lawrence Guy messes that up a little bit. He shoots the gap. He doesn't really play, oh, I'm going to go down the line of scrimmage and play my gap like most people do. He decides just to go attack the football. So because of that, Wilson can't cut back. But just because the play is meant to be made a cutback run doesn't mean the front side just goes, we don't have to block on this play. They're going over there. They still block it perfectly as well. And Wilson does a great job of weaving through the traffic. But the run game design, even on that play, I just want everybody to understand this. You got your 5 offensive linemen. They got a tight end to the right and Kittle who motioned over to the left. Right off the tackles, right? And they're just stepped back a little bit. The receivers are also tight. So that action happens at zone right. Tight end comes behind. Kittle releases into the flat on the weak side. But just the way they block it and how they attack it is special. And it just exemplifies what the game was, which was an overall attack and assault on Bill Belichick's edge of his defense of front 7 especially. And Shanahan didn't let him off the hook. He said, you don't have D tackles. You don't have good run stoppers. I don't care how many people you put in the box. I'm coming after you. We can run the football. And they have a lot of weapons and different ways to do it, which is so special. I mean, again, when you start getting into Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, whatever running backs in the game, ultimately you'd like Mostert there because that's their most explosive one.
Wilson's fast.
And then, right, Wilson's fast too. So that's what I mean, whatever running back. But then Juszczyk, I would sit there and go, that can challenge just about anybody in football, and especially the way the 49ers want to play where they get all those guys the ball in the run game. I mean, even the fullback and the tight end get the ball in the run game.
And you're caught on your heels if you're the Patriots in that play that you just described with Dwelly going to the left. And there's supposed to be a cutback over there. Well, even though they didn't go over there, the linebacker who was Juwan Bentley, he saw the motion over there. He saw Dwelly going over there, and so it gave him like a second pause.
Definitely.
And that was enough for Wilson to hit the hole,
front side.
He had no chance. Bentley had no chance of making a play.
You're right. Bentley was screwed either way. Bentley was smart enough to realize, wait, they're trying to run the cutback.
Yeah.
You know, but they also teach the running back.
He was too smart.
They teach the running back, too, to read that.
Yeah.
Now, this play, it didn't matter because, like I said, Lawrence Guy kind of shoot the gap, and he wasn't able to cut back, so then he just kept straight, and he weaved through traffic there. But, yes, and that speaks to the point once again. Why does Shanahan want to do that? Because guys like Juwan Bentley, they're slow. They can't stop the edge runs. You know, so Shanahan just constantly attacked the outside edge, and then, Bill overplayed. You know, I'm going to set the edge and force you back inside. And then he would go right up inside the edge. Oh, you're going to overplay it? Oh, we'll assault you this way. And, oh, the edge is here. Great. You set the edge. We'll push the edge out a little farther. And now we've exposed you right inside the edge. And it was just a constant attack on that all day long. Outside, inside out, outside in, all of that. And they did it so many freaking different ways. It's unbelievable. Oh, it's a toss crack on the edge. Oh, it's outside zone on the edge. Oh, it's fullback lead, between the tackles and the tight end right onto the edge, that push the edge out, like that type of play. The speed sweeps, the swing routes where he'd throw to the back way out, and then the receivers are blocking the corners and the safeties. It's a toss crack, except they've just thrown the ball 10 yards out farther than a toss. So they are attacking the edge that way. Then play action, throw the ball out there on swing routes. So constantly making life hard on their front seven, which is not very talented, taking their great secondary out of the game and making it a moot point to where you're like, oh, yeah, that's the strength of your team. Well, we're not going to give you a chance to even, capitalize on that today. And that's where the genius of Shanahan really kicked ass.
Can I read a direct quote from your notes?
Yeah.
You said, Kyle was nice to Bill Belichick.
He was.
Kyle could have been worse.
Kyle could have hung 55 on New England. Kyle called off the dogs in the third quarter. He was very nice. And I think, I don't know if Bill would have done that to Kyle, but Kyle's cool that way. And I think he has a lot of respect for Bill Belichick, and he wasn't interested in trying to embarrass him or anything there. But yeah. New England's will was taken away by that 16-yard Wilson touchdown run. That was the game. When they scored that, it was 23-3. They knew it was over, and that was it. It was good night. Yeah, we'll go into halftime. We'll try to come out here and make it look like something. But they knew it was over. As a player, whoa, this isn't our day, and we don't match up good with these guys. And I think New England realized that about second quarter they were in deep trouble.
So that's a lot of really bad things for the New England Patriots in that game. And I know listening to the podcast with you and Paul on Monday, you said you would still be surprised if New England wasn't in the mix for a playoff spot come the end of the year. After watching the tape more in depth, does that hold? Would you still be surprised if they're not in it?
Yes, I would. I still think they're going to be in it. Now, I'm not sitting here going to just lock it down and go, oh, they're in the AFC playoffs. No. I still think I see enough things to go, I think they could still be a 6 or a 7 seed and be a pain in the butt. Again, we talked about it. They got to play a certain way. They've definitely been sloppy. COVID-19 messed them up. Lack of practice. No Cam Newton. All those issues. Again, they got young guys. Cam's learning a new offense. The offensive line was a mismatch for a little bit, so you got that. You let alone you can't practice. And like I've said on PFT a few times this week, when you can't go to practice and do things like that, it hurts New England more than anybody. The greatest thing they have on their organization in the last 20 years is Bill Belichick and his ability to coach everybody, keep his finger on everybody, the details of this, the creative things that go through his brain. Some of that gets lost when you're not in the building every day. Some of his genius gets lost that way, and I think that's hurt them. But they still have a top-tier run game in the NFL. They really do. So between that and then there's not a whole lot of offenses that are going to be able to be a mismatch like that, like San Francisco was. So I'm not giving up on them, and I've said this on Monday, and I'll say it again. Don't be shocked if they beat the Buffalo Bills this week. Buffalo can't stop the run, and then Buffalo can't run. So now New England gets to go DB all over the place. You want to throw it every play. Great. That's what we want. And you can't stop the run. So that sets up. It's a game of matchups, and they match up really well with Buffalo.
Cam could get back on track. You don't know how much of it was missing those practices.
Sure.
And I was thinking of this the other day. You don't often talk about the fact that he had coronavirus. COVID,
exactly.
And that actually might have an effect,
and he
too.
actually didn't get to work out or throw a ball
just
for a week.
Actually having the disease of COVID-19,
sure.
Even if you don't have symptoms, we don't know a ton about it.
Right.
Like that physically could make you different than it did before you had.
Bottom line is Shanahan's on fire right now.
Yeah.
This is 2 weeks in a row where it's just exposing defenses, making it so easy on your quarterback. Everything, it's just amazing. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's just he's killing it right now. And nobody tests defenses' run fits and how you're going to stop certain things better than Kyle Shanahan. He's the best in football at that.
They could finish 10-6 and lose the division by 4 games. I don't know.
The 49ers?
I don't know. That division's just so tough.
Yeah, but don't count that out yet. Don't count that out. They all got to play each other.
Yeah.
And that Seattle defense still sucks. So there's still a lot of work here to be done. And I don't think they're out of the division yet. And the way they're looking again, talk about Tampa, complete team, best team in the NFC in my opinion.
Yeah.
San Francisco ends going up on this trend here. They're going to be a complete team too. And the same thing with the Saints I'd throw in there to go, watch out. Those are the teams I look out to I think can be a player in the NFC for real still. We'll see where it goes.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.